So hello, welcome to the Hawthorn Cottagecraft Podcast. Today is Wednesday the 7th of August 2019 and this is episode 32. I'm Kate. You can find me on Instagram as Kate_Hawthorncottagecraft, on Ravelry as ARunnerBean, and we have a Ravelry group called Hawthorn Cottagecraft Podcast. I hope you enjoy your visit to the cottage. It has been a long time since I've been here. You're very welcome. If it's your first time, I hope you enjoy what you hear and enjoy the community that is here. And if you are a returning viewer, you're very welcome back, and thank you for coming back after the hiatus. I hope you have a cuppa and we can get down to some talking about knitting. As I said, it has been a long time. I think it's been about 4 or 5 months since I was last on here recording, and it feels, to be quite honest, quite strange to be back. If you watched the last episode, episode 31, you will know that at the very, very beginning of the year I was diagnosed with cancer. It has been a long 6 months, but thankfully I think we're on the right side of things. I had surgery and it seemed to have dealt with everything. I haven't had any further treatment, which has been such a relief. But it has been a long physical and emotional journey over the last few months, and because of that I had to take a step back from basically the outside world and concentrate on family and just keeping things going here and getting better. But I've been dipping my toe for the last few weeks or last month or so back into the world of social media, just in and out. And it's nice to reconnect with people, and thank you so much to everybody who has sent me messages and who has asked how I've been. Your support has been, I couldn't have done without it. It really, really has lifted me up on days when things were tough. But I want to get that out of the way at the start, just to let everybody know I'm well and hopefully things are back on track again. It had meant that over the last few months I hadn't been knitting as much. I really, for about 3 or 4 months, I really didn't want to do anything. I couldn't focus on anything, but I'm slowly getting back into it. And when I look at what I have beside me, I've actually done more than maybe I thought I had, and we're just, as I say, slowly getting back into the stride. I have some finished objects to show you. You'd think after 6 months I would have a huge pile. I have a mediocre pile and I'm quite pleased with it. But I have 2 pairs of socks to show you and 2 sweaters. The first pair of socks I have on the blockers, and these are the Hello Sunshine socks by Tracy Miller, who is one of the grocery girls. And I loved this knit. This, I would say, has become one of my favourite pairs of socks. I haven't worn them yet. 1, it's too warm, and 2, I wanted to show them to you before I wore them and made them icky. But this is the Hello Sunshine socks, as I said, by Tracy Miller, one of the grocery girls. And they're just such a cheery, cheery knit. It has been helped by the yarn that I chose. This is Deep Stash. This is Fine Fish Yarns. Terry's Junebug colourway, which was a Worldwide Knit in Public Day colourway maybe 2-3 years ago. 3, I would say, maybe. but it is just such a cheery yarn. It's a superwash merino nylon and stellina base, and I don't know if you can get the shine, but there is a little glittery shine in this yarn. And I just felt it was a very summery colour. We can wear socks here pretty much all year. And it just felt like a really springy, summery colour and cheerful and chirpy. And that's what I needed when I was knitting these. As I said, that's the main colour's Junebug. The contrast toe and heel is a colourway. It was a mini I had from Ellie and Ada. And it was a superwash merino nylon base as well, I think. So there's a beautiful cable, mock cable, some seed stitch, and then the back is, it's easier to show you off this. The back is just a continuation of the rib. It's a 64 stitch pattern, which is my usual, and a 2.5mm, which is a US 1.5 needle. Now, I think because of the rib at the back, I possibly could have either gone down in needle size or maybe gone down to a 60 stitch pattern, or the next pattern, the next number down, possibly just a needle size down, because there's quite a lot of stretch in the back of these. But I think they're okay. Now, I'll put it back on the blocker because I want to show you something. Sometimes when I watch podcasts, everybody's knitting looks so perfect and I get so envious because they don't seem to make mistakes and everything is beautiful. I don't know if you can notice, actually you should be able to notice, any difference in my socks. I don't know where my brain was. And I knit top down, so there was absolutely no way when I realised this, once I had bound off the second sock, that I was going to change it. But there's almost an inch difference, an inch and a half difference in the leg. I do not know. My brain must have been completely away the day that I was working on these, the second sock. But, do you know what? They're still okay. They will be worn under trousers, so no one will see them. Only I will know, and you. But, in saying that, but again, I'm saying but a lot today, I love these socks. They are really, really cheerful, as I said, and I'm really, really pleased I have those done. So that is the Hello Sunshine sock by Tracy Miller. The other socks that I completed a little while ago. I'll put them on the blockers. And these are my Canadian socks. I think you know by now I love all things Canada. And when I saw that the Cozy Knitter, who is a dyer based in Toronto in Canada, when I saw this colourway, I just had to have it. I have a pair of lounging trousers that are in the plaid, Canadian plaid, black and red. And when the Cozy Knitter produced her lumberjack colourway, I just had to get them. And I have knit these, I can't remember this pattern, the name of the pattern. I'll put it on the screen below. I have some brief show notes here, but I forgot to write down the name of the pattern. But it's basically a slip stitch pattern. Very, very simple and very effective on a self-striping yarn. Christina's yarns are wonderful. There's just a really nice stripe in them. And I put in the afterthought heel to maintain my stripe, and then just a rounded toe. And again, it's top down, 64 stitch. And I'm just really, really pleased with this. There was the skein of the striping, and then there was a little contrast skein for the heels and toes and cuffs. So just a really simple sock. Again, I haven't really worn them. I think I've worn them once, but I wanted to keep them in pristine shape. It was a 2.5 needle, 1.5, and I can't wait to wear these. And they are also part of my work in progress. I had enough left of the yarn to knit a pair of shorty socks, and I have in my little Canadian bag that Crafty Knitter 7, Sue, formerly of Two Tangled Skeins, had made for me. And I was in Canada at the end of June. Myself and my husband and my son took a little trip over to Ottawa to visit Selma and Co. And it was my travel knit, the shorties. So again, it's the lumberjack colourway, cozy knitter, and it's just a plain shorty sock, afterthought heel and toe. I had to use a different red and from Stash. I think it's a Drops yarn for the heels and toes because I didn't have quite enough of the red that came with the original skein. But I have one complete, and I'm on the heel of the second one. Oops, I'm all tangled up. So I'm on the heel of the second one. And that's my work, one of my works in progress. I don't have very many active works in progress at the moment, but this is one of them. And I'm really pleased with this. So I'll have a little pair of shorty socks, and that will be the yarn all used up. It was too good a yarn to waste any of. So that was socks. That was the socks, and they're a work in progress. But this is a year of garments. Little Big Knits, who is Selma, you all know, she and I have been running this year, I think mainly she has been running this year, the Garments Galore Cal. She has been keeping it all going, and I have to thank her greatly for that because I have been absent without leave. The Garments Galore Cal is running from the 1st of January until the 31st of December, and the projects that are going into the finished objects threads are stunning. I am now starting to slowly work my way through them and to see them, and I'm loving them all. They're just wonderful. So if you're still knitting your garments, please continue to put them into the Garments Galore Cal threads in both my group and in Selma's group, the Little Big Knits group. There's a finished objects thread for the general, any sweater, any garment. It has to be a garment, not a shawl or a hat or gloves or an accessory. It has to be a garment that you wear on your torso or your body. So a sweater, a cardigan, a dress, trousers, shorts, anything that is technically classed as a garment goes into that finished objects thread. There is also a thread for summer fibres, so anything you knit in cotton or linen or a plant-based fibre, that can go into the finished objects thread on both my group and in Selma's group. And then we each have an individual thread. In Selma's group, if you've knit a sweater for a male in your life, or if you just a sweater for a man's sweater or garment, put that in there into Selma's group. If you are knitting a yoked sweater, any sweater with a yoke, it doesn't have to be colour work, but it's a yoked sweater construction. So no raglan sleeves, set-in sleeves, it's a yoked sweater. And you'll see one of my finished objects is a yoked sweater. That goes into my finished object thread. So there are 3 threads in each group. 2 of them can be doubled up, and then there's the 2 individual threads. Please keep putting your projects in there. There will be prizes at the end. I have a couple of prizes collected. If you're a maker and would like to contribute to the prize fund, the prize stash in either of our podcasts, either Selma's or mine, please feel free to contact us. We'd love to use your products. But there will be prizes for each of those threads and each of the groups. That was quite a lot of rambling. At least it felt very rambly, and I apologise. I will show you my sweaters. I had great intentions this year of beating last year's total, and I think I had 9 sweaters, 9 or 10 sweaters, I can't remember, but I had quite a lot of sweaters knit last year, and I'd fully intended having that done again this year, if not more, but obviously life got in the way of that. But I have 2 completed, and I've a third which is well on its way to completion, and I'll show you it in a moment. But the two that I completed, the first one was the Sabella pullover by Carrie Bostic Hogue, and this is a yoked sweater, so there's pattern straight across the top. It's all in one colour, it's not colour work. This yarn knitted up beautifully, but it's quite hard to see the pattern at the top. The pattern, as I said, is Sabella by Carrie Bostic Hogue, and I'll link it in the show notes so that you can have a look at it on her project page. I had intended to knit this for Edinburgh Yarn Festival, which unfortunately I had to pull out of. But I had bought the yarn last year in 2018 at Edinburgh Yarn Festival, and it's new leaf yarns, and it's 60% alpaca and 40% Shetland, and I love this sweater. I have worn it a few times before it got too warm. I wore it to Woolen Yarn Festival in Dublin, so if you've been on Instagram you may have seen photographs of me wearing it there. But I love this. It's a sport weight yarn, and just the fabric that it creates is beautiful. I had tested this yarn when New Leaf Yarns first released it, and I knew that it was going to make an absolutely fabulous sweater. So this was top down from what I remember, and sport weight. I knitted on a 3.5mm, which is a US 4, and a 3.75mm, which is a US 5 needle. That's what worked for my gauge. And I like it. I like the wide neck. It comes across my neck. Not very wide, but just, it's not, I don't feel constricted in it. I can wear a shirt underneath it. I can wear a long sleeve t-shirt underneath it. It's a 3/4 length sleeve, which I really like. And I'm just really pleased with it. The rib. Oh, I am so out of practice at doing this. But I love this sweater. It's a very, very comfy sweater, and I'm hoping to get an awful lot of wear out of it this autumn and winter. We have had quite a damp summer, but it has been humid for us. So there's been very little knitwear worn over the summer. But that is going to be in rotation all autumn and winter. So that was one of my sweaters. The other sweater is one that I have had on my to-do list for a few years. I had considered buying or knitting it around the time that I first went to Rhinebeck in 2017. But I bought the yarn for it then, and I bought it in wool time in Ottawa, and it was some Cascade 220 heathers that I bought for it, and this is the Sambuca sweater. And I loved, when I first saw this sweater, I fell in love with it, and I just knew I had to knit it. It's by Thea Coleman, and it's Sambuca, as I said. And it was a really straightforward knit. It was lovely because there's a bit of colour work, but not too much. And for a change, it was at the bottom rather than up round the yoke. So it's a raglan sleeve. And then there's a bit of colour work at the cuff again. As I said, I used Cascade 220 heathers, and the colours were June Heather, Turtle, Natural. So it was basically, this was the natural, strangely enough. And then it was 3 different shades of green. I don't know how well you can see that. Very, very light green into slightly mid and dark. The cuff was meant to be, the colour work in the cuff was meant to be the lightest colour, but I felt it didn't really show up particularly well, so I put in the darkest. And I'll put all the colourways in the show notes so that you can see them there. They're numbers rather than names. There was one of them I couldn't find a name for at all, but I'll put those in the show notes if you want to have a look. And it was just a really good knit. It was a worsted weight, so it went up really, really quickly, which is what I needed. It got me back in. I really wanted to finish this one, but I found just because I was knitting it around March, April time, and that was kind of the worst time for me with surgery and waiting for results, that I found it a bit of a slog, not because of the pattern, and I love the pattern and I love the yarn and I'm so pleased with the finished product, but just because of the circumstances. I really wasn't into knitting at the time. That this is the sweater that really revived my sweater love. As much as I like socks, sweaters are my favourite thing to knit. So this is what I finished up with, and I'm really pleased with it. I love the drape of the cascade. It was a really nice yarn to knit with. It's a worsted weight. And I'm not actually sure. I think it's just, I don't know, I can't remember what the wool content is, but it's wool. So really pleased with that. Those were my finished objects, and those are in the sweaters galore, Cal. So again, if you're knitting a sweater, keep going, and please feel free to put your finished objects in the different threads, and I'll definitely see them. As I said, I'm starting to work my way through them. So those were the finished objects. You've seen one of my works in progress. The other work in progress, I say I have very few works in progress. I have quite a few bags with projects in them. And I have worked at some of them, but very, very bitty. If you know from previous episodes, I'd started the Kate cardigan, which was from one of the Lina magazines, and it's a Truly Myrtle pattern. I started that a very long time ago, and I'm really debating whether I want to finish it. I'm about 3/4 of the way down the body of it. It's a cardigan. I'm knitting it in blacker yarns. I love the yarn. I love the pattern. Part of the problem is I don't like the needle choice. I'm using Haya sharps, and because I push and it's a fine gauge, I find it quite sore when I'm knitting. But also, I was working on it in the early part of the year, and it has quite negative feelings at the moment associated with it. I think I may frog it. I will knit the Kate cardigan at some other point. I will use this yarn for a different project. If you hold 1 second, I can grab it. If I get the right bag. It is a beautiful project. You can tell me in the comments below what I should do. I could change needle, because I'm quite far down, but I have bands to do, I have sleeves to do. I could change the needle, but I'm very nervous of changing the needle and finding that the gauge, even though it's the same size of needle, sometimes using a different make can change your gauge. But it's a beautiful, beautiful yarn. It's blacker yarns. Breeds, they're Jacob. And I really do love it, but I'm in two minds. I don't feel inspired to knit it at the moment. And a lovely design down the front panel. So tell me in the comments below what you think I should do. Should I finish it? Should I change my needle just so that, and finish it with a different needle? Or should I frog it and knit something else at the moment with that yarn? Tell me what you think. So there are projects like that sitting in bags that I just haven't really got back to. I'm also working on a project for LB Hand Knits, and I haven't checked with her whether I can show it to you. I'm well through it. It's a pattern she's releasing soon. I'll check with her and hopefully I can show it to you the next time. And congratulations to Albina. Albina's just had a little girl, so I don't want to check with her too soon because she's got other things on her mind at the moment. But hopefully I'll be able to show it to you the next time. And the other thing that I am working on, that I am very, very close to finishing, is another Edie. Last year I knit an Edie, which is a pattern by Isabel Kramer. And I'm not sure, do I have a photograph? I have quite a poor photograph. It's not great. But it's a pattern by Isabel Kramer. I knitted last year. I had knitted for the Yarn Folk Festival. And again, I needed another travel project for the end of June. Said we were away for 8 days, and it was lovely catching up with Selma and Holly and Amy and Lynn and the ladies in Wabi Sabi, Donna. I bought yarn, which I wasn't going to, but I did, and it just was a lovely time, but I needed a travel knit. So I decided that the ED was a nice simple, there's a little bit of interest in it, but it's a simple t-shirt to knit. I am knitting it in, again, stash yarn that I had, and I don't have my label, but it's the Moon and Sixpence yarn, which is an Irish yarn dyer. I thought I had the label with me, but I don't. And it's this beautiful shade of blue. It's like a denim blue with flecks of black and beige, and it's going to go with a lot of things. It'll be lovely with jeans, to wear with jeans. It's just going to go with quite a lot. It's a very versatile colour. And it's the Moon and Sixpence. Again, I'll link it in the show notes. And I'm quite far on. I'm working on the body. With my coffee. I'm working on the body, and I don't have very much further to go. There's just a little bit of interest, as you can see. A little bit of texture every so often. Pattern repeat. And it's just a simple V-neck. You can add a little bit on the pattern. It's optional to neaten up the edge of the V, but I quite like it almost like a raw edge. And there's a little tiny little bit to do on each sleeve. The sleeve really only comes to here, so that a few rows to finish each sleeve off. And as I say, I'm well down the body. And it just was a nice, simple, straightforward knit when I was on the plane. I got a lot of knitting done. Particularly coming home, I don't sleep on the flight coming home, so I knit. So I really have been enjoying that. I'm knitting it on a 3.5mm, which is a US 4, on my Luca needles. So that'll be a second ED. It's the first time I think I have repeated a pattern. I don't think I've ever knit a pattern twice. Certainly not a garment. I don't think I have. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think I have. So I'm really, really enjoying that, and that is my main work in progress at the moment, as well as my LB hand knits knit that I'm doing for her for a sample. That's my knitting. It's, as I say, it has been a while. There could have been more, but I'm actually quite pleased that I've kind of back into the groove and starting to find my feet. I have been to 2 festivals. I went to Woolen in Dublin, which was wonderful this year. James came with me. He's my knitting buddy, and we had a great time. We spent a few hours there. I went with great intentions of not shopping because I hadn't been knitting, but I blew that intention, and James also helped me blow it. I have a 14-year-old yarn addict and yarn snob, I think. The rest of us started on very, very, very inexpensive yarn, and he's starting with Stephen and Penelope. But he loves it, and I'm not going to complain about that. It could be into a lot worse. And I've also been to Yarn Folk, and I'm going to include footage at the end of this about Yarn Folk. Yarn Folk is my local, very local festival, and it was last Saturday in Whitehead. And can I thank Louise for organising, and her sister Elizabeth, I think, was helping her this year, for another wonderful festival. It's small, very, very cosy, but the selection of vendors was fabulous. And again, I did some damage. It's sitting there. I bought some beautiful yarn from Woolly Mammoth Fibres. She has now put me in a ban. I'm not allowed to buy anymore, because I want to knit a sweater for a knit retreat, which is less than 3 months away. So I have a sweater, and Garth and Orr was there, and I would like to knit a hat with some of that. But we had a wonderful day. It was lovely to see the vendors. It was lovely to see everybody and have a chat and catch up. Again, James was with me, so we stayed for a few hours and then we came home again quite satisfied. I didn't bring it in with me, and I'm going to pause here and nip out and get something to show you. I think I'm organised. As it has been such a long time, and people, your kindness has been overwhelming, I wanted to say thank you for your continued support and the fact that you have stuck with me through this time, and you've stuck with me through this episode where I have rambled and fumbled and just tried to get back into the way of going. So I have a little thank you, I have a little giveaway that I'm going to run here on YouTube in the comments below. I would like you to tell me the highlight of your summer so far. What has been the best part of your summer, or winter if you're in the southern hemisphere? The best part of your year so far. What has been the highlight? For me, my highlight has been it's actually been family, and just being with friends and family and feeling their love and support. It's simple as that. It's just family time. But what has been the highlight of your year? What has been the best part of it? And I will draw a winner in 2 weeks. So today is the 7th, 21st, I think is 2 weeks. Yes, I think it is. And I will draw a winner then from the comments below. And the winner will receive some things that I've picked up at Yarn Folk. I went to, now I'm going to pronounce this wrong, Shownotes Yarns. It's an Irish name. She's a dyer down in the west of Ireland, as far as I know. And I could have happily bought every colour she had. Her yarn is beautiful. But because I had already purchased a few things and I had gone purchasing nothing, I resisted, but I bought you one. And it's this beautiful, she hand dyes in the Burren, so down in the very west of Ireland. And it's this beautiful, beautiful yarn, and I don't think my lights are giving it its best. It's a natural with a beautiful pinky maroon colour through it. It's called Fairy Dust, and it's 100% new merino muslin free. I've got that right as well. All these difficult words. It's a beautiful skein of yarn, and it's a double knit, so there'll be enough in there for a hat. So there's the yarn. There's a tea towel, a Tilly Flop tea towel that I got from Knitted Hook It, and I don't want to open it out, but there is a nitty saying in the middle of it as well, but it looks like a knit stitch, and I got that from Knitted Hook It, and it's just a fun tea towel. Rag Button is a maker local to me, and she is one of the most beautiful sewers that I have seen. She makes beautiful bags. She does a lot of embroidery, a lot of hand stitching, and she had made these beautiful little brooches. I did get one of these for myself. So there's a yarn, ball of yarn on a brooch pin. And she has Rag Button, and I know she's on Instagram. You can have a look at her there. So that's in the little prize bundle, and then I could be wrong, but I think Knitted Hook It made these for Yarn Folk, and this is the festival logo for this year, and it's a little needle gauge, and Louise kindly donated that to the prize package from Lighthouse Yarns. So that is the little bundle of goodies that will go to one of you as a thank you. Thank you to everybody who supports this podcast and has supported me and encouraged me for the last few years, and particularly in the last few months. That's about all I think I have. It's nice to be back, strange to be back, and thank you so much for sticking around for this length of time today and for joining me here in the cottage. I have really enjoyed your company, and I really hope that you will come back and see me again at some time very, very soon.